Welcome to RevXP Presents, our monthly talk series where we connect with the biggest stakeholders in the gaming and esports industry. I'm Chris Mann, the SVP of RevXP, the gaming and esports division of Revolution. And this month, I have the unique privilege to talk to Nathan Lindberg of Super Awesome Gaming, and we're going to dive into some conversations around the metaverse. Welcome, Nate.
Thanks for having me, Chris. It's exciting.
Thank you. Nathan, so you have a really interesting experience within the gaming industry. Obviously, you're now the commercial director at Super Awesome. Previously, you were at Twitch for a number of years where you led some of the biggest partnerships on the platform, and now landing at Super Awesome. So first off, congrats on your new role. And of course, Super Awesome is an epic games company with the mission of making the internet safer for youth audiences. And your new role is really focused on partnership opportunities for brands to reach those youth audiences. So a very unique role when it comes to helping brands unlock the potential of the metaverse and metaverse-focused platforms. So let's dive into that conversation. But before we do, I'd like to start with a really easy question. What game are you playing right now?
Oh, that's such a hard one to just say one. There's always so many things. It's funny, as you mentioned, I spent the last 6.5 years at Twitch, had an awesome run there building up products and IP. So not surprisingly, I'm playing Lost Ark right now. I've really been getting into the dungeon fighters kind of type of Diablo-style gameplay. The folks at Amazon Game Studios are continuing to make really cool stuff, finding great partners, putting great things out there. So, as an ex-Twitch Amazon guy, it felt very natural to jump in and support the company on what it's doing, and I've been really enjoying it. It's definitely brought back some of that Diablo nostalgia that I've missed since the last iteration.
Yeah, obviously, in those massive multiplayer games, I feel like are their own metaverses. So it's like this conversation around these new metaverse platforms, like you look at like a giant sandbox game like Grand Theft Auto or, Lost Ark or World of Warcraft, like those are their own universes, within their own worlds. And it's kind of like, that was probably the metaverse before this kind of new buzzword has hit, right? And gamers experiencing these unique and immersive experiences and stories and adventures, that they do in games such as Minecraft or Roblox and others, that we're going to talk about today. So as we jump in, first question.
I was going to say it's fascinating because, you and I have lived through this with esports and people thinking that esports started in 2015. And it's like, no, it's actually been around for a long time, but the technology has what has really allowed it to flourish and be exciting and be, and be at the right place at the right time. And so it is funny to see, and I think Gabe Newell, like a couple weeks ago, even said, like, hey, metaverses aren't new. Have you ever played World of Warcraft?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, like it's funny that old is new again. But I think it's really, when you start to think about it, it's the technology that allows these things to be possible. And when you look at 5G and ultra wideband and the novel idea that the internet is persistent, it allows for persistent worlds to live and flourish and be successful. And that's where we're kind of getting to with this new metaverse environment.
Absolutely. And it's ever changing. What happened today is not the same that's going to happen tomorrow, even, in the distant future. I think you hit on good points. Like in 2016, like esports was such a buzzword and brand marketers like, we have to be in esports. We have to be in esports. It's like, well, take a step back. You need a gaming strategy that may or may not have esports in it based on your goals and objectives. And I think, we hear a lot, obviously you work a ton of brands, you talk to a ton of brands, and they're like, we got to be in the metaverse. We got to be there. It's not just about checking the box. It's about creating an experience and having a strategy to enter. And I think that's where it's like, what should brands know about entering the metaverse through a platform like Super Awesome, to reach those youth audiences?
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, it's important to remember that the word metaverse is a bit of a misnomer. There is not one metaverse right now. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of metaverses out there because as we are transitioning from Web 2.0 to Web 3.0, you are evolving and getting to a place where someone can have a ubiquitous journey around the internet. But if we think about our daily lives today, right? I get on and I log into my Gmail, right? And then I log into my Peloton app, and then I log into my Fidelity bank account, and I log into, it's like, everywhere you go on the internet, you have to reinvent yourself and log into their environment and their world. And so the idea of a persistent metaverse is fascinating. So for a lot of people, there's a question, I want to own the metaverse. I want to be the official bank of the metaverse. And it's like, the metaverse is not a thing. We're going to get there eventually. But what it's really about right now is monopolizing people's time, which is something that we've been doing in advertising forever. It's the whole reason why we exist. And it's just a new playing field for this audience. What I think is fascinating is that gaming and video games are becoming such an essential part of everyone's life that they are their own strategy, and they're evolving their own strategies over the years. So now your video game strategy is not just about reaching a very targeted group of individual gamers. You're actually now trying to figure out, okay, within the universe of video games, am I going to talk to people in a metaverse environment, in an esports environment, in an in-game environment? Like, it's become a much more robust conversation, and it's no longer just do a tactic and call it a day, right? Pat yourself on the back, go win the Cannes Lion Award. It's actually a conversation about how are we creating persistent worlds and environments that are going to not only attract people, but retain them and help them to enjoy. And I think that's one of the biggest things that Super Awesome's been able to do as an Epic Games subsidiary is allow us to not only help brands build environments or integrate into environments that exist already, but more importantly, it's about building the holistic strategy of utilizing creators and media and promotion to make sure that you're driving people into that experience so that you actually have people having a good time and engaging with your product and brand. It's very similar, and Chris, you and I have talked about this, it's very similar to like old school experiential, where if you build it, that's great, but if no one uses it, why'd you build it, right? So it's about that holistic thought and that holistic strategy, and I think it's really important, in particular, for not just clients and brands, but agency partners to play really important roles in thinking about how we put all this stuff together, how we promote it, how it all kind of blends together, but how it changes from just a tactic to a strategy, because that is the difference between Gen Z and Gen X right now, and Gen Z and millennials, is that a gaming strategy now becomes an essential part of an always-on communication layer, just like social, right? Just like digital. This is the new area of expertise. And when you start to even look towards Gen Alpha, which is very young right now and very new, but they're going to expect these as table stakes, and they're going to expect this type of experiential opportunity in the digital world as just the basic way that they interact with you moving forward. So you have to, as a brand, understand how to do that. You have to work with your partners to figure out the right way to do it. But it's about building that holistic strategy from initial strategy, and planning all the way through reporting and compliance and making sure that what you're doing is the right way.
Yeah, you hit it on the head. It's that holistic plan, right? Like, how do you use media? How do you use your own channels? How do you use everything as a brand at your own disposal? And then also think about it in a bigger way, working with your partners, creators, and craft that strategy. Because I think what happens is a lot of times, brands may be watching, like, we have to be in the metaverse, and they just want to check that box to get that PR to understand it. But you could build the greatest experience, the greatest world, and spend all this money on that. But if nobody knows about it, then nobody's going to experience it. You just can't expect people to, because you're a big brand, you're going to create something and then they're going to engage with it or play it. That's not how it works. There's so many choices out there. There's so many opportunities. What are you doing that's yours, makes yours unique? How is it adding value to the community experience? And how are you really making people know about it and hitting them in channels holistically, with that strategy to promote it? And I think that's really important for brands to consider when they're entering any space, whether it be gaming, esports, or even traditional sports or entertainment. It's like, you can't just be there and show up. You have to show up in a way that actually people want you there, but also know that you're there. So I think it's something as brands watch this to consider. I think you hit a great point. So last question is in terms of what's next, right? Everybody's always like, what's happening next? What's the innovation? I think you obviously sit, at Epic Games, and being an Epic Games company, always driving innovation. The things that they're doing with Fortnite is always interesting. But of course, super awesome. What are some exciting innovations that will drive the metaverse forward, and how is Super Awesome approaching that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that we're trying to focus on right now in building out really robust opportunities, right? First and foremost, it's about helping to create platform agnostic programs. So how do we stop the focus being on just one particular metaverse? How do we start to create strategies across multiple metaverses? How do we have a connection point where activations and activities can be synonymous and ubiquitous within multiple environments? I think that's a really interesting and exciting area to be in, because we can actually have a solution where you can have a similar experience in multiple environments. That's really, really exciting to me. The other part of it is, as we're becoming a part of Epic Games, we're spending a lot more time trying to figure out how to help brands get into Fortnite Creative. And we're launching some really exciting opportunities. We're going to be talking at the IAB Playfronts in a couple weeks, and being able to kind of roll out some of our new opportunities and some of the new things that we're really excited about from a Fortnite Creative perspective. And I would say, as we start to see Epic continue to invest in and build out, Fortnite. Every single year, I seem to read an article that's like, "Oh, Fortnite's dead," and it's like, "Wait, and there it is again, doing incredible things." And so I think as we look at this space, and as we see things go, and as we see, the opportunities for Fortnite Creative continue to grow, you're going to see some really incredible innovation in that space and some opportunities for brands to come in with their own IP and be able to create really cool things, but also start to think about strategic partnerships where if you're a partner with someone else and they're IP rich and budget poor, and you're budget rich and IP poor, there's a way for you to combine together to build out some really incredible and engaging opportunities. And I think for brands moving forward, it's going to be not just about how they stick their particular product or service or something like that in the metaverse, but really how you start to build out incredible opportunities with your partners to create engaging environments when they have the rich IP and you have the opportunity, the budget, the promotional vehicles, all those types of things. That's where I see kind of Fortnite Creative really hitting a power surge, especially when you start to talk about opportunities with Unreal Engine and what that can all do. MetaHumans. I mean, there is so many cool things happening at Epic. I think that when I came on board, I thought I knew 30%, and I realized I know 3%. And it's incredibly empowering and also humbling to join such a company that is really at the forefront of what's going on and what's being built. And so we're really excited about those two areas in particular. But also just seeing more brands investing in this space, helping to draw attention to not only the sexy creators, the influencers of the world, the ninjas and the Pokemanes and the Tim the Tatmans, but also like starting to really celebritize developers, the people who are actually making incredible environments. That is such a huge passion point for us. That's a huge area of growth opportunity. And I know for brands, it's not as sexy because it's not, someone who is, flashy and flamboyant and very cool. It's much more of a tactical strategy. But the things that are possible now and the things that are possible in the future when it comes to game development is unbelievable. And I think that as we start to see these metaverses evolve, the people who can actually craft the metaverse and craft maps and experiences and stuff like that to help audiences fall back in love with the games that they enjoy, that's going to be where the power is. That's going to be where the opportunity is. And partnering those people up with great brands to make incredible things, that's going to be a really fun part of my job coming up over the next, who knows, 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, obviously from our side, at Revolution, we have experience in the metaverse, specifically with Fortnite Creative, and worked really closely with the Epic, Fortnite Creative team to do something for Chipotle on Farm to Foil. And so understanding that experience and being a trusted partner not only of Epic, but having the experience with our clients and the developers to create those immersive experiences and world, I think are super important, for brands to understand as they go into the space, and then additional experience with platforms like Roblox. And but you mentioned like there's so many different platforms out there. So it's like, right now we're working on stuff for Roblox, Fortnite. We're looking at the Sandbox. These Web3 kind of user-owned platforms. And so there's so many different entry points to the metaverse that brands can explore. It comes down to, what are your goals and objectives? Who are you trying to reach? And who's the right partner that can help you build those experiences? And not only the experience, but the plan around it holistically to activate it in an impactful way. And so, that's what I'm looking forward to working on and working with you on those. And so as we wrap this up, I want to thank you for your time. Where can people find you and Super Awesome?
Yeah, so Super Awesome, it has its own website, superawesome.com. Obviously, for those that are on the Epic Games Network, come on, play some Fortnite, some Rocket League, some Fall Guys. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm also on Twitter at The Real Nate. And be happy to chat with anyone that wants to connect and discuss and obviously make the internet a better and less toxic place for all of us, not just for youth audiences, but I think everyone in general. And that's something that we're really excited about and looking forward to. And I would say, Chris, to just add on to your last comment, right? Like the hardest thing for brands to do is to get started, and opportunity paralysis or paralysis by opportunity is a real thing. And it's really about picking the partners that you trust that are going to have your best intent and your best interest in mind. And that's where folks like RevXP and others have been leaders in this space to be able to say, hey, listen, like I don't have to have the solution for you right this second, but I can promise you that what I want to do is make this space a better place. We're going to partner together on that. That's the right way to go about it. And that's the right mindset to have. And I think you guys have done a really great job of being early adopters in this space.
Thank you. Yeah, we're working on like a really strategic phased approach for brands where it helps them understand their goals and objectives and puts that into strategy and how it's going to be measured. And then, of course, eventually it leads to an activation and a whole plan around it. So thank you for calling that out and appreciate the shout out there. So thank you, Nathan. Appreciate your time. I want to thank everyone for tuning in and watching. We'll be back, of course, next month with another guest. And until then, stay safe, play some games, and I really appreciate your time tuning in. Bye, everybody.